What if I told you that your mind right now is wired to repel wealth? Not because you're lazy, not because you're not smart, but because your brain is addicted to comfort, and comfort is the enemy of growth. You think the answer is more knowledge, more strategies, more hustle. But the truth? Ray Dalio didn't build a $150 billion empire by chasing tips. He rewired his mind. His formula? Pain plus reflection equals progress. Most people run from pain. Winners study it like a map. Every financial setback, every emotional spiral, it's a clue. But here's the twist. If you don't face it, you repeat it. If you don't reflect, you stay broke. This isn't about motivation. It's about mental architecture. Dalio trained his brain like a trader, detached, reflective, brutally honest. And if you want to attract unlimited wealth, you don't start with your wallet. You start with your wiring, because your thoughts are not neutral. They're either compounding your future or costing you millions. So the real question is, are you willing to train your mind like your life depends on it? Because it does. Wealth doesn't respond to emotions. It responds to logic. But most people approach money like a teenager in love. Impulsive, reactive, blind to long-term consequences. Ray Dalio's life changed the moment he realized this brutal truth. Emotions make you poor. Why? Because your brain isn't built to make you rich. It's built to protect you from discomfort. The same wiring that helped your ancestors survive the jungle is sabotaging your bank account today. Every time you feel fear, your brain shuts down logic. It amplifies risk. It ignores opportunity. Neuroscience proves it. Under stress, your prefrontal cortex, the seat of rational thought, goes offline. You don't think, you react. And reactions don't build empires. Dalio's insight, pain plus reflection equals progress, is more than a mantra. It's a mental weapon. Most people avoid financial pain. He studied it. Most people escape reflection. He hunted it. When Bridgewater lost millions, Dalio didn't hide. He wrote it down. He broke it apart. He learned. And that pain became his compass. Because the richest people on earth aren't the ones who avoid pain, they're the ones who turn it into principles. So how do you train your brain to stop bleeding money through emotional reactivity? You start acting like a trader, not a victim. Traders don't panic. They track. They perform a daily emotional audit. Every morning you ask, what emotion is driving me today? Is it fear? Ego? Scarcity? Write it. Name it. Disarm it. You don't fix what you don't track. And the more aware you become of your mental triggers, the less power they have over your financial decisions. Because wealth isn't built in moments of calm, it's built in the chaos you learn to control. You don't need more motivation. You need more clarity. And clarity starts with confronting the noise inside your own mind. Radical truth is not a buzzword. It's a survival strategy. And most people are too fragile to handle it. Ray Dalio built his empire not by being the smartest in the room, but by being the most honest with himself. Brutally honest. He knew something most people ignore. Self-delusion is more expensive than any bad investment. You can recover from a bad trade. But if you lie to yourself about why it happened, you'll repeat it until you go broke. That's why Dalio practices ruthless self-inquiry. After every failure, he doesn't justify. He investigates. He performs what he calls a failure autopsy. He opens the wound. He examines the cause. And from the pain, he extracts gold. A new principle, a better rule, a smarter system. So, what about you? What if you turned every financial mistake into a lab experiment? Write this down. What did I do? Why did I do it? What did I believe that wasn't true? And what new belief will I adopt? That's not weakness. That's mental strength. That's how billionaires think. But there's a catch. You can't do this alone. Dalio didn't build his thinking in a vacuum. He created a mental mirror room, a space where trusted people could challenge his assumptions, confront his blind spots, and force upgrades to his model of reality. It wasn't always comfortable, but it was always profitable. The average person surrounds themselves with comfort. The wealthy surround themselves with truth. If you want to become financially unshakable, build your own mirror room. One person who will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, is worth more than 100 cheerleaders. Because feedback isn't criticism, it's leverage. It's the fastest path to mental clarity and long-term wealth, but only if you're strong enough to take it. Discipline beats motivation. Every time. Ray Dalio doesn't rely on how he feels. He relies on systems. Because motivation fades, but principles don't. When you're tired, stressed, or afraid, principles keep you from making dumb decisions. They are the GPS of wealth. Dalio learned this the hard way. After nearly going bankrupt, he didn't try harder. He thought deeper. He wrote down rules. If X happens, do Y. That's how he turned chaos into clarity. That's how you scale decision-making when billions are on the line. You don't guess. You follow the system. Now ask yourself, what are your rules? Most people have none. They wing it. They react. But wealth isn't random. It's structured. So build your own decision matrix. Start simple. Every time you make a financial move, ask, is this driven by data or emotion? Is this urgent or important? Is this reversible or final? These filters force logic to take the wheel. Over time, you stop chasing shiny objects and start executing repeatable moves that actually grow your money. But here's the twist Dalio mastered. Your intuition lies. It's not a compass. It's a history book. Your gut is built from your past, not your potential. That's why Dalio uses algorithms. Not because he lacks instincts, but because he doesn't trust them blindly. He wants logic that outperforms emotion, systems that beat guesswork, AI that neutralizes human bias. Because the richest minds know this, success isn't about always being right. It's about always being structured. So if you're still depending on motivation to get rich, stop. Build your thinking like a machine. Principles over passion, logic over noise, and system over chaos. That's how you scale wealth that doesn't collapse when life gets messy. Most people chase certainty. Ray Dalio chases probabilities. That's why he wins. The average mind wants the answer. One perfect move, one magic investment. But the market doesn't reward certainty. It rewards adaptability. Dalio trains his brain to think in possible outcomes, not fixed predictions. He doesn't ask, what will happen? He asks, what could happen? And how prepared am I for each path? That's the mind of a strategist, not a gambler. That's how you stop playing financial roulette and start playing wealth like chess. To do that, you must practice second-order thinking. It's a mental superpower. First-order thinking is reactive. If I spend, I feel good. Second-order thinking is strategic. If I spend now, I lose the capital to invest later, which costs me compound growth. One sees today, the other sees decades. Dalio uses this thinking to simulate chain reactions. What happens next, and next, and next? That's how he avoids blind spots that wipe out ordinary investors. And here's the truth you've been avoiding. Even with low income, you can think like a hedge fund. You can ask better questions. You can play scenarios. You can stop saying, I can't afford it, and start asking, what happens if I wait 6 months? What's the opportunity cost? Wealth isn't about what you earn, it's about how you think. You're not a gambler, you're a tactician. And tacticians don't pray for perfect outcomes. They prepare for multiple futures. They bet on probabilities. They plan for the long game. And in a world that panics at uncertainty, the person who can calmly weigh options holds the real power. The market doesn't reward panic. It rewards poise. In 2008, while the world was collapsing in fear, Ray Dalio stayed calm. Why? Because he trained for it. Detachment is a wealth skill, and most people don't have it. When money's on the line, cortisol floods your system. Your brain screams survive, not strategize. That's why you buy high, sell low, and regret everything later. But Dalio? He practices mental distance. He doesn't attach his identity to outcomes. He lets data guide decisions, not emotions, and that's why he thrives in chaos. You need to build your own financial stoicism routine, not just to avoid losses, but to time your moves with power. Every day, train yourself to let go of results. Visualize a bad outcome. Feel it. Then act rationally anyway. That's the skill. Can you stay strategic when your plan hits resistance? Can you make moves without emotional residue? Because the moment you become reactive, you give your power away to the market, to the media, to your fear. Here's a brutal but brilliant practice. Imagine losing 50% of your net worth on paper. Feel the discomfort. Now breathe. Now ask, what's the optimal next move? If you can answer calmly, you've already won. You've proven to yourself that emotions don't own you. You own them. And that's where timing is born. Not in guesses, but in grounded clarity. Wealth is a game of controlled exposure. The more calm you are, the more risk you can intelligently absorb. Dalio didn't survive financial storms because he predicted them perfectly. He survived because he didn't panic. And if you want to play this game at a high level, you need more than courage. You need emotional neutrality. That's where precision lives. Your ego is not your edge. It's your expense. Ray Dalio fires even top performers if they can't take feedback. Why? Because ego blocks truth. And in the world of wealth, truth is profit. Most people protect their ego more than their capital. They'd rather be right than rich. They avoid critique, defend bad habits, and live inside a mental prison of pride. But Dalio? He treats feedback like oxygen. Every correction is a calibration. Every challenge is a chance to evolve. And that's why his thinking compounds while others stay stuck. To unlock your next income level, you must outgrow your current identity. Identity flexibility is a financial multiplier. Ask yourself, are you clinging to an outdated self-image? I'm just not good with money. I can't handle risk. That's just who I am. These are not facts. They're ego scripts, and every time you replay them, you reinforce the ceiling that's holding you down. The wealthy rewire who they are based on who they're becoming. They update their mental software. They drop the pride. They upgrade the model. Here's the key. Apply the pain button exercise. Find the moments where money triggers you. Shame, jealousy, scarcity. Pause. Ask, what belief is underneath this pain? Then disarm it. Replace it with a principle, not a reaction. Because your pain points are not obstacles. They're coordinates. They tell you exactly where to evolve. But only if your ego gets out of the way. Dalio doesn't let feelings run the show. He lets feedback shape the system. And if you want to scale your wealth, stop asking to be validated. Start asking to be transformed. Because the identity that got you here will not get you there. Goals are for amateurs. Systems are for architects. Ray Dalio doesn't just set goals. He builds mental infrastructure. He thinks like a hedge fund, in frameworks, feedback loops, and scalable execution. That's why his success is sustainable. Most people treat wealth like a wish list. Dalio treats it like an operating system. He programs his principles. He tracks his thinking. He updates his strategy. That's what turns knowledge into results. Start by building your life portfolio. Not just assets, but skills, relationships, emotional resilience. Diversify your inputs. protect your bandwidth, expand your utility. Dalio doesn't bet everything on one variable, and neither should you. Create a portfolio that compounds in every direction. That way, when money fluctuates, your growth doesn't. Then, institute your weekly wealth review. Every week, reflect: what did I do well? What patterns are emerging? What assumptions failed? What must I adjust? This ritual is your command center. It's where you convert experience into strategy, where you course correct before small losses become catastrophic ones. Without review, there's no mastery. Without structure, there's no scale. Dalio thinks in systems because systems outlast emotion. They're immune to moods. They evolve with data. And that's your edge: to stop acting like a consumer of advice and start thinking like the designer of your financial life. You don't need more goals. You need better architecture. You need a brain that thinks in flowcharts, not fantasies. Because wealth doesn't happen by chance. It happens by design. And the moment you build your mental systems, you stop chasing money and start generating it predictably. You were not born with a wealth mindset, but you can build one. Every principle you've heard today is a brick. Every reflection, a tool. Every uncomfortable truth, a door. Ray Dalio didn't inherit clarity. He forged it through failure, feedback, and fearless thinking. And now it's your turn, not to copy his path, but to create your own. To stop reacting like the average man and start designing like the extraordinary few. Because wealth is not about luck, it's about internal engineering. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are a system in progress. Every thought you upgrade, every emotion you master, every belief you rewrite. It's money in your future account. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent, ruthless with your truth, relentless with your structure, calm under fire. Decide now. Are you going to keep waiting for the market, for motivation, for miracles? Or are you going to train your mind like your future depends on it? Because it does. You're not here to survive. You're here to scale. You are the architect. You are the operator. You are the asset. Success is not luck. It's a decision. Now act like it. And go claim your wealth.